it's a fresh start for everybody, and you really look at it as obviously just a one-game season, and if you want to advance, you got to find a way to come up with a win. I think the conference tournament's just going to be, so competitive on so many different levels. I think it was a great year in the SEC, and a lot of parity, just some of the best, and I anticipate the conference tournament will be much the same.
If there are any questions for Coach Pingeton, please press star 1 at this time. Coach, we'll start you off with Blake Topmeyer of the Columbia Daily Tribune. Looks like we've lost. Let's go to Doug Roberson of the AJC.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I guess that, a question that everyone is kind of curious about is South Carolina and what's made them so powerful this year, and can they be taken down in the tournament?
Well, first of all, I think Don's done just a tremendous job with that team, and they've got all the pieces. I mean, they've got a great perimeter game. They've got the power and the explosiveness. Obviously, just a ton of athleticism on that roster. They've had a phenomenal year, and certainly, obviously, the favorites going into the conference tournament, despite their last loss against Tennessee. But I just so impressed with what Don's been able to do there in her time at South Carolina.
Is there any one key to it? Can you put your finger on, if you had to put one thing as to how she's been able to get it going?
Well, no, not necessarily. I think obviously she's a very talented coach, and there's a history there. And but I'll be honest with you, we played them one time this year, as you're aware of, and we're trying to build a program here on our own. So it's one day at a time. But I think the recruits that she's brought in, I think the pieces to the puzzle. I think even probably bigger than that is the culture within that program. It's one thing to bring in, McDonald's All-Americans, but when you can put them in a locker room and create the culture where, it's truly about the front of your jersey, it's awfully exciting to see the kind of things that are able to happen, and she's obviously been able to do that with her ball club.
Thank you.
You bet.
Next is Kara Capuano of ESPN.
Hey, Robin. Since you guys have now been there, done that, I just was wondering what your thoughts were on the experience of the SEC tournament overall, and specifically kind of being in that Atlanta area. What is that like for Missouri, and what are you looking forward to getting back to?
Well, I think everything about the SEC, it just reeks of first class, just from top to bottom, the organization, the administration. So they obviously put a great product together and a great experience for our student athletes. It has only been 1 year, and we unfortunately weren't there, for a very long stay in Atlanta. But for my first experience there in our short time stay, really impressed from top to bottom just with the organization of the event.
And then my second question is specifically about your team. Our group got to see you a couple of weeks ago, but just as you assess, you brought up in regards to South Carolina building a program, how did Missouri perform compared to your expectations of this season as you look back?
I would say pretty close to what I expected. And I have pretty high expectations, to be honest with you. But I just think with the youth that we have in our roster, I think you saw a lot of inconsistencies. When you look at, just the scores to a lot of our games compared to a year ago, we didn't have the blowouts that we did a year ago, that we played people competitively, but had a hard time finishing some of those games. And I think that really comes down to having a young roster. A lot of growing pains that happen throughout the course of the season, but I've been really proud of our team's resiliency. They've got a great work ethic. Our culture's in place. And I think it's, just we've taken another giant step and still have a lot of work to do. But, I think it's a group of young ladies that's really committed to the front of their jerseys, and we'll continue to work hard and build our program.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Next is Todd Palmer, the Kansas City Star.
Hey, Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I was kind of curious, you got some talent on that roster, obviously. What do you think you guys need to do to maybe get hot and make a little bit of run, maybe open some eyes here during this week in Atlanta?
I just think the consistency, and I don't know how you battle that up and get it in one weekend, but we'll certainly try to do that. I think you've seen games where we've really competed at a high level. I think defensively, for the most part, we're playing a lot better than we were early in the conference play. But for us, it's just about that ability to knock down our open shots. We seem to get looks, and some games when they're falling, it looks really good, and other games, we struggle. But I think for us, we do have some depth in some different positions, and it's going to need to be one of those nights where we're operating on all cylinders and kids are knocking down shots.
And what about Bree this year? I know she went over 1,000 points recently. Can you just talk about the senior season she's been able to put together and her time at Mizzou?
Yeah, I sure can. She's a special kid, and she knew what she was walking into 2 years ago. We're a program that didn't have a great history, and so we're trying to build something, create a culture, build a program, and so she knew there was going to be some growing pains, but she really embraced the opportunity to jump on board and help us build this program. Unbelievable work ethic, a kid that got in 20,000 shots this summer, and I think that's really shown in her consistency offensively for us. But being our lone senior on the team with a lot of young kids, just the resiliency that I've been able to see in her moving on from game to game when we have to go through those adverse times and the challenging times of the ups and downs that any season will bring for you, but just the way she's handled that. I've always felt like she was, on the court. She's got great versatility. I think she's a hard kid to match up with because of her ability to shoot the three and off the bounce and even play with her back to the basket a little bit. But I think the thing that really stands out to me and what I'm most proud of is the growth that I've seen in just her character and her leadership skills.